Who's ready to plug in and recharge? On today's show, we're going to be talking about men's health and some alternative, natural, and less invasive treatments that you can take to gauge your own health, as well as treat the root cause, not just the symptoms of what you may be experiencing. And to help me with that is today's guest, who is actually my own doctor, Dr. Michael Einsohn. He's founded and runs the Thermography Center of Dallas, which was actually the first thermography center in America. With over 20,000 thermograms completed and a one-time consultant for the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, he's helped thousands of men and women with their own health. He was also the first chiropractor on a medical hospital staff in the state of Texas. Now, you're going to hear me throughout the show call Dr. Einsohn Dr. Michael, because that's just how he and I roll. We're good buds. Okay, let's get this thing going. Cue the intro music.
Welcome to the Men Unplugged Show. Get ready to plug in and recharge your life, family, and career while igniting your faith in Christ. Now, here's your host and champion of helping men live with passion and purpose, Jeff Jerina.
Hey, how you doing today? Jeff Jerina here, and welcome to episode 79 of the Men Unplugged Show, where I chat with top Christian leaders on a different topic every single week to give you the answers and resources that you need to succeed in every aspect of life. To make sure you never miss a single episode or valuable resource that we offer, sign up to our weekly email list at menunplugged.net. When you do that, I'll send you a free PDF copy of my first book, and you'll also have a chance to get a discounted copy of my second book that will be published this year. Speaking of year, did you know that Men Unplugged has now been running for a year now? I think that's pretty cool. And I want to celebrate and honor you because you, as a valued listener, have really helped me out as you share the show each week to your family members, your coworkers, your friends, whoever that is. And as you rate and review the show, as you provide your valued feedback, really helps us to continue to reach more men and their families for Jesus Christ. So with that said, I want to say thank you. I salute you. And I'm ready for the next year, the next 5, the next 10, the next 50. Man, if it was 50, I'm going to be 97. Can you imagine me at 97 years old on the mic? Boy, that'd be pretty rough, right? You know what I mean here. I'm looking forward to the next 10, 20, 30 years of running Men Unplugged. And I want to say thank you again for all of your support. I really do appreciate it. All right, with that said, let's meet today's featured guest, Dr. Michael Einsohn. Dr. Michael, welcome to the show, brother.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here with all my men unplugged.
All right. Hey, are you ready to recharge?
Yes, sir. I am recharged. I had been in prayer for 5 hours this morning, and I'm tuned in.
So in my intro, I mentioned your Thermography Center and the word thermogram. And I think a good place to start here, Dr. Michael, is the definition of a thermogram, what it does. How does it help men and women with their health, and more specifically men? Because traditionally, it's been used to diagnose breast cancer in women, which it still does. But what a lot of people I don't think know is that it helps men detect, learn, and discover a lot of big-time health issues that they may have as well. So give us a quick synopsis of a thermogram, what you guys do, and how it helps men and women.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking that question. Thermography was created by medical doctors in Germany, with also a medical doctor who is a dentist, and they did about a 30,000 patient study and then brought it over to this country and immediately got it FDA accepted. So it was the initial tool that allowed you to examine every single organ of the body and every single system of the body, cardiovascular, prostate, liver, et cetera, to know exactly how it was functioning. So it's a very unique test that is well documented scientifically. It takes about 119 readings off of the body, does nothing invasive, has like a little Bluetooth giant pencil, so to speak,
right,
that picks up the temperature of each organ, records it, and immediately gives you a 6-page printout that tells you the function of every single organ and where things are happening in the body and what needs to be worked on.
Well, we're going to talk about actually my experience with that, because I've actually had 2 thermograms with you at your center. And exactly to your point, exactly. It's non-invasive. It probably takes about, 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes at tops
Yes,
to
sir.
do this. And it really just gives you this amazing report on what I guess your health baseline is and where you need to go from there. And then what is a better treatment plan for that. So before we get into that though, I want to ask you, what types of things specifically can a thermogram detect? And keep in mind, we're trying to keep this in specifics in terms of men.
Well, it can tell you exactly the health of your prostate. And one of the diagnosed organs that relate to the prostate, interestingly enough, is the pancreas. So in the thermogram, there is a evaluation of many factors that are specifically related to prostate function. Again, you have lymphatic function, you have immune function, you have various different other organs that contribute to the health or the slow demise of that prostate gland. And so we find things 7 to 10 years before they manifest on any other kind of medical invasive test.
Wow. So when you're working with patients right now at your center, Dr. Michael, and specifically men, what are the more common things that you're seeing? Is there one particular disease or issue that's really affecting men right now?
Well, what's interesting still on the prostate is that the studies show that 70% of men with elevated PSA blood tests who have a biopsy do not have any cancer.
Huh, that's interesting.
That test is highly inaccurate.
Talk a little bit more about that, because I've done
that's a study that came out of Harvard. So we're talking about straight science and something quite serious. So the other major thing is the cardiovascular. Cardiovascular and heart disease is still the leading cause of death in this country, and all men need to be very cognizant about it. I probably hear at least one time a week, Ralph wasn't sick a day in his life. He was out jogging on his usual 2 to 3 mile jog, and he dropped dead of a heart attack. And he had just been for his annual checkup, had a stress test that gave him a clean bill of health. Well, again, the thermogram picks up changes 7 to 10 years. So it checks the heart, it checks the electrical conduction to the heart, it checks the carotid artery, it checks the physiological pericardium function of the heart. I mean, it even has a myocardial alert that goes off if things are showing to be going in the wrong direction. No other tool can do that. So I use this as my annual physical exam for all men, all women, all children over the age of 5. And right now, our oldest patient is 94.
Wow. So when you talked about PSA blood count in a traditional prostate screen, and I've done that for years, but now with the thermogram, what are some things that a guy can be looking for that say, maybe I need to go get a thermogram here for my prostate or even colon or heart? What are some early warning signs that they can say, I think I need to do that?
Well, the problem is that since everyone is designed in this culture to get their yearly physical exam, blood doesn't show you anything, because by the time something shows up in blood, you have no symptoms. And people aren't even producing symptoms a lot of times when they're having prostate diagnoses. So symptoms are something that we need to get away from. We need to just use the thermogram as your basis of existence of your health every year to see which direction it's going in. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. And one of the major culprits, because of the toxic world we have, the pesticides, the herbicides, the fungicides, all those things that we're exposed to through our daily life, through our eating, even if we try to eat as clean as possible.
Right.
Those have all these heavy metals and chemicals. And one of the places they always interfere and accumulate is in the prostate gland and the lymphatic system. So this reveals many subtle changes way before symptoms appear. So we want to get away from that paradigm of thinking, oh, I feel great. I love to see patients when they feel great, because then we can fine tune everything before it even starts to manifest and cause symptoms.
No, that's really good. And you talked about a lot of the food that we eat now. In Bible times, it wasn't like that. There was no GMO, genetically modified ingredients. There wasn't food with nitrates in it or sulfites, and that's a big thing now. And I'm just saying what you see, because when you read the packages of food, it says no nitrates, no preservatives, and that my family and I, we try, Dr. Michaels, to stay away from that stuff, because to me, it's not good for you. But now, I'm not a doctor. I can just tell you, if I stay away from those things, I feel a lot healthier. And you mentioned heavy metals. And that's another thing that you guys do there at the Thermography Center is you guys offer this heavy metal testing, which I did that with the thermogram. And man, my report, it was pretty interesting. We're going to save that here for a couple more minutes, but talk about the heavy metal testing.
Well, heavy metals are fascinating. There's a beautiful nonprofit organization out of San Francisco, and they have a little bit of a biblical name. They're called As Ye Sow.
Okay.
And they took all of the chocolates that exist. They took the organic chocolates, they took the ones that are natural, and then they took the ones that are like for, M&Ms and Hershey's and all those kind of guys.
Hey, that's some good stuff, man.
Oh, yeah. And they found lead toxicity levels in the organic, in the gourmet, and in the lower level ones. Every single one that they tested had heavy metal toxicity in it, specifically lead. So, even when it says it's organic, it's not being tested for heavy metals. So the oligo scan, which is a non-invasive, that's the key word here. Everything we're doing is in the divine order of do the least amount of harm. That's classical, that's biblical.
Right.
That's about as sensible as you can get to follow divine. Do things that are non-invasive first to get a real good read on where your health is.
So let's talk about, no, that's good. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but no, I didn't know that. You're actually letting me down here because I do like chocolate. You're kind of bringing me down here a bit, but you know what? If that's the case, then maybe you got to stay away from it. Or is there some other type of chocolate that you can take that's not bad?
There are, and every time I find a problem, I search deeply for solutions. So I will share that with you at another time.
No, that's good. So let's talk about some of the benefits here of the thermogram and the heavy metal screening here over a traditional type of testing like a colonoscopy or prostate screening or something like that. We mentioned some of them here, but kind of go a little bit deeper if you can, Dr. Michael, about some of the benefits for the thermography and the metal screening, why that's so much better.
Well, every single person has some kind of symptom, and they're always trying to eliminate their symptom. But the beautiful part about the creation of a thermogram is that it looks at the cause of everything. So whether you're having hay fever, whether you're having weight gain, whether you're having skin changes, whether you're having hair loss, whether you're having a change in vitality, a change in energy, your workouts need to be a little stronger, whatever it might be, it's going to show you which organ you need to strengthen in order to change those symptoms. So it can change symptoms, but it gets at the causal level of everything. So how does it do that? And that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. How it does that is that it reveals what we call subclinical infections. There are two kinds of infections. One, you get a fever, you feel malaise, your joints ache, and you feel that you need to just stay home and chill, and it'll pass, or you'll take something for it, and then you'll feel better in a few days. Well, that is one type of infection. That's what we call a clinical infection.
Right.
But what we have pandemically everywhere is what they call subclinical infections, where some microbe, it could be a bacteria, could be a virus, could be a yeast infection, settles somewhere deep inside of an organ and starts to interfere in normal metabolic function. And when it does that, it can interfere in your pancreas, in your stomach, in your colon, and it just starts to be annoying on a little level, on a cellular level. Okay, but what happens is that the divine made our body to be alkaline. The creator in all of his wisdom made the body to be alkaline.
Right.
And it's many years ago, decades ago, that the Nobel Prize was awarded for this medical doctor who discovered that cancer can only grow in an acid environment. Well, the divine made us to live in alkalinity, not acidity. So when you have heavy metals, it changes the body from alkaline, which is our divine, God-given right and blessing, and changes that because, like you said, we're not designed for chemicals, GMOs, and all of those things. So it changes the pH of the body from alkaline to acid. Once you become acid, then those subclinical infections have an environment to grow in, and they can cause any symptom.
No, that's a good answer. Now, one thing that I'm thinking here, and I think I've asked you this before, the numerous times that I've seen you, I've asked you, why is it that if one person or a family, like Amy and I, like our family, like we eat healthy, and for me specifically, eat a certain way, why is it that I have some symptoms where somebody that's not eating as healthy, they might not have any symptoms manifested at all or that they talk about? Why is that?
Well, we all come in with certain genetic strengths and weaknesses, right? So, for example, my granddaddy, he left at 29. My daddy left at 60. My sister left at 43, all from cardiovascular things. So I've been working on my cardiovascular health, and I'm the oldest in 3 generations at a minimum that I know of. So we all come in, we inherited our whole grandfather, grandparents, lineage, mom and dad. And, sometimes we don't get all the strengths, and sometimes we get a few weaknesses. So everyone is different. Everyone is unique. And the thing about blood tests is that they're going to tell you either you're healthy or not healthy. Well, on a thermogram, it doesn't say either healthy or non-healthy. It tells you the actual function of each specific organ of your body, which makes it completely unique and rare and a great blessing to be able to receive a thermogram.
Well, okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like the verse that says, I don't remember the exact passage, or the reference, it says that, you can take the sins up to the 3rd or 4th generations. I guess in the sense, we're taking our genetic mapping, that DNA up to 3, 4, maybe plus generations is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. Totally clear. Good explanation, Jeff.
Hey, I like it when you tell me. I like it when a doctor tells me I did a good job, man. I'm doing something right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk here. I want to just share this real quick before we take a break here to hit the second half of the show and really talk more about this and give you guys an explanation of how it's helped me and what an appointment would look like at the Thermography Center. So before we do that, though, I want to ask you this. When you started this 30 plus years ago, why did you go this route with the thermography as opposed to the other traditional forms? I know you alluded to it, but what was it early on that you saw?
In my first year of practice, I had about 50 to 60% of my patients came in already diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer and breast cancer most abundantly. And I would have them bring in their blood work and bring in their pathology reports. The pathology reports is when you do a biopsy and they actually got confirmed that they had cancer, and their blood tests were all normal, 100% normal. So I said, we need to find a way and a tool that can find things before they happen, not after they happen. So I first started studying camera thermography, and I noticed that the history of camera thermography was such that it was actually rejected by the National Institute of Health because of all the variations in interpretation. So I kept on looking, and I found the medical doctors in Germany who, instead of using camera, which was subject to interpretation, just recorded a very specific temperature and put that on a graph, so there was no interpretation, and it was just straight science.
Tell me about symptoms. You mentioned symptoms earlier, that a lot of times they don't actually show you exactly what's wrong, because you may have one symptom or 5 symptoms, and you think that really what's going on is that particular health issue, but really the root cause is something different. And I think that's something that's so big about the thermogram and the heavy metal testing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, let's go back to the divine creator. He made no mistakes.
That's right.
And he made a physiology that is just designed to communicate. Now, often we misinterpret its communication. We think if we have acne on the face, that we need to put something topical on it to get rid of it. We think if we have a cough, we need to take some kind of cough suppressant in order to quiet down the lungs. We think if we have a headache, that we need to take some medication in order to make the headache go away. But that's not how he made the body. He made the body to communicate so that you'll go deeper to find out what caused that headache, what caused that acne, what causes things that allows me to experience something. And it's that divine creation, it's that divine intelligence that runs this body that is always trying to communicate. But it only has a few ways it can communicate. It can communicate through pain. It can communicate through any kind of fever. It can communicate through skin eruptions. I mean, there's not a lot of ways initially it can communicate. Stuffy noses, runny noses, decrease in eyesight. We don't even think that decreasing our eyesight or needing glasses is an indication of a change in health, but it surely is, because we're not designed to wear glasses.
That's a good point.
All these things we just take for granted because our society has made things very simple and fast answers, fast remedies, instead of us having to assume the responsibility of keeping that divinity flowing throughout our body.
We're going to take a quick break here for an important message. And when we get back, we're going to knock the supercharge round out, giving you some really practical tips that are going to help you in your own health today. Hey, Men Unplugged Faithful, I want to tell you about a resource that I'm so passionate about, one that has helped me communicate better with others, increase productivity, improve my relationships, and help me uncover some of those pesky blind spots. It's our one-of-a-kind personality profile assessment tool. It's going to help improve your communication skills, identify your strengths, reduce stress, and unlock your leadership potential. Whether it's for you, your spouse, your kids, or your coworkers, you're going to be given detailed, positive, and personalized feedback about your own unique personality style. To get yours today, go to menunplugged.net/profile. And to take the next step in living your true purpose, register for my 10 Steps to Live with Power and Purpose course or my personal development coaching at menunplugged.net/courses. That's COURSES. All right, I'm back here with Dr. Michael. You ready to rock the supercharge round?
I'm ready to rock. Let's do it. Let's have it.
Hey, I love that, man. That's how you are when I'm actually in a visit or something. You're the same way. I'm like, man, come on. I like this energy. I really do. Okay, so speaking of patients here that you've seen over the years, as I said in the intro, I'm one of those, as well as my wife, Amy. So what I want to do right now, I kept talking about this in the first half of the show. I want to talk about my experience at the Thermography Center and working with you, Dr. Michael, and how it's helped Amy and I. And so I want to talk about our current treatment options here, and really for me, because I went in with Amy about 10 years ago, and she was having digestive issues. She was having a lack of energy and went in there, and I was having some issues with my back, like muscular problems with my back. And we went in there, we did the thermogram. You helped her a lot, helped me. And then I kind of went my own way here because I'm like, okay, well, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. So for the past 8 years, I've been in a good state. And then over the last year, maybe a year and a half, I'd really say the last year, my health has really started to decline. And what's happened is I've been having digestive issues. And I know you know this, but I would just want the listeners to know this. I've had digestive issues, lost a lot of weight, and I wasn't even trying to lose weight. Lost about 15, 20 pounds, and I was already thin. Wasn't feeling right. So I told Amy, I said, look, I got to go and see Dr. Michael. I got to get a thermogram. Something is not right here. So I just went in last week at the time of this recording. He said, hey, ever since I saw the thermogram and the heavy metal testing that I did, I think it was a day or two before that, you said you've been praying. And that's good to pray.
Absolutely.
And that's good to pray. But I know when you said that, it wasn't good. So let's talk about that here. What did you see about me in just about 2 or 3 minutes? And let's talk about my treatment plan now.
I mean, your heavy metals were extremely high. Mm-hmm. And like I said, what started me also was when I did my own heavy metal test, and they were way too high for the kind of lifestyle I lead.
Right.
And your heavy metals and your diet was really, we get a little lax after a while. We feel good, and we let one meal go a week, then we let another meal go, and we're still eating clean and making good choices, but, we're just not sitting down before every meal. We're maybe not praying before every meal. Maybe we're not really keeping the balance of all of his creations, of all the veggies he's made available for us, and
right.
all the beautiful things that, are grown naturally that he's provided for us. And we get away from that. And so, sometimes we just need a little health coaching. We need a little rekindling of your spirit to remember that this is your temple and that it needs to be treated in a divine, very, elevated way. We need to protect it and take care of it in a deeper way as we move through this world of toxicity.
Yeah. And in talking about that, I'm glad you mentioned that because you actually said a good phrase there, health coaching. I think that's really a big part of what you do there at the Thermography Center is you coach individuals how they can better manage their health. And so our bodies are the Lord's temple, the Holy Spirit. It says in Scripture that the Holy Spirit resides in us as born-again believers, and we need to understand that and treat that accordingly. I think one of the things that we can get away from so easily is the food that we eat. And I don't know if you've heard this before or not, Dr. Michael, but I read this or heard this before, and it's a saying that says, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. When somebody comes in and sees you, Dr. Michael, when can they start to see kind of a change that they can actually maintain? Is it 21 days, a little bit longer, or what would you say?
Jeff, it's a great question, and it's one I wish I could answer, but the differences are so great. The amount of your inheritance is really hard to judge, how long you've had your symptoms, or how strong your constitution is, and you don't really even have many symptoms. So the variety is way too great. But the one thing is that a year from now, when we redo your thermogram, you're going to see an amazing restoration of health to every single organ of your body. It's all going to improve. When you follow his divine laws and his divine messages on how we're supposed to take care, then health always returns.
Okay, now that's big. And you mentioned something there about your constitution. I guess what you're talking about there is your willingness to live out or act out that particular, or follow, I should say, that particular treatment plan. And I can tell you early on, it might not be that easy because it's a radical change right away. You're going to have to maybe knock some of those foods out of your system. Maybe there's some supplements that you're taking. And this is something you asked me, you said, I asked you, I said, so how about my other supplements? Do I need to take those? You said, well, are they helping? I said, well, obviously not. And he's like, well, then don't take those. So now I'm just taking about 4 or 5 things. And the biggest thing is to get these metals out of my system, because what's been happening, it sounds like I've been getting rid of nutrients and keeping the metals in my body. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And one of the other benefits is that we save people day in, day out, literally hundreds of dollars, because they're looking for answers in their supplements, and the answer is already given to them by the divine creator in their food.
Right.
And we talked earlier about being a coach. Well, being a coach, a true coach, is one that only inspires. Regardless, people come in and say, oh, you're not going to like my diet. I had pizza and I had this and that. I go, you have freedom of will. You have freedom of choice. I'm only here to be your cheerleader, because it's a divine quality to be non-judgmental. So I never judge what anyone does. I'm here to support them, keep them focused, keep them on track, and inspire them to take the best care they can of this divine creation that they've been gifted for this lifetime.
Let's talk a little bit more about the treatments, about the Thermography Center, and really what men and women can do to live a healthier lifestyle. So what are some things, some tips that you would say that they could do right now? Maybe there's some stuff they have to eliminate.
The first thing you want to really rekindle is to pray before every meal.
Yes.
And when you pray, you go into your heart. It's not a mental activity. It's going into the heart and feeling that shift, feeling that connection to that divine energy and thankfulness before you partake of that meal. And then the most fundamental things you want to look at is the kind of water you're drinking, the purification of that water, the kind of water you're showering in every day, because that has big. A huge effect, and just basically how happy you are, because we're always producing chemistry every day. Divine chemistry is full of joy, happiness, gratitude, and thankfulness. All those produce health. But if you're being worrisome, if you're complaining, if you're looking at what you don't have or what you need to get, then that's going to produce a decline in health.
Right.
So the very basic fundamental things that you can do are just those simple ones, and that will have a very powerful effect regardless of if you ever come in or not.
Oh, that's big right there. Yeah, exactly. I really do like that. And you talked about water. Man, I can tell you where we live in Wiley, the water is terrible. Now it's everywhere. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, to your point, I mean, it really is bad. And I know the water bottles, the plastic water bottles, I mean, a lot of those most of them have estrogen in them. And as for men, we don't need any estrogen. That's not what we need.
No,
we need testosterone in a healthy way. Yeah. So I know that when we switched I told you this, when we switched about 2 years ago, I was having some prostate issues. I just wasn't feeling like I was, I'd go to the restroom and just didn't feel like I was emptying out. And man, Men Unplugged, you're getting all this stuff about me, man. I may be telling you too much info here, but I think this is important to share that I even went in the regular prostate screening and they said, man, it's something you're eating or drinking. Your prostate is fine. Finally narrowed it down to the water bottles. And so we have this nice water filtration system. And if you want to know about that, just let me know. But ever since then, I haven't had issues with my prostate. That's the interesting thing.
As the creator made us, it's just a scientific fact. We are between 70 and 75% water. We look
Right.
like flesh and bones, but we're basically water. We're made in the same image as planet Earth, 70 to 75% water. So water is one of the most fundamental, powerful healing tools that we have.
Let's shift the scene here because I really feel like we've given a lot of valuable information here on a more alternative, a holistic approach to healing, to health. And it's something that I would advise you guys, especially if you're in the DFW area, to check out the thermographycenter.com. That's thermographycenter.com. Go to that website, give Dr. Michael a call, tell him you know Jeff.
And here's the phone number. It's 214-352-8758. If you call and you say you are from Men Unplugged, we're going to give you $125 off your first initial thermography visit.
Ooh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's a big deal. I want you to share with the listeners here the circumstances that led to your faith in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
Well, I come from a long lineage, meaning that when I grew up in New York City. And growing up there, I was blessed because my dad would take me to all different kind of churches in New York. But the beautiful thing about it is that New York being such a melting pot, we had churches from everywhere. We had Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Presbyterian, Catholic, Christian. I mean, every single walk that you could possibly imagine. So I got exposed to all these different lineages of Christianity that even though they were different, they were all the same. They all had the basic tenet of Christ and how to walk on this earth and how to really exhibit and live with divine qualities on a daily life and to frame every day of your life to see how many divine qualities you can express throughout your daily work.
What has been the biggest giant that you've had to overcome in your life?
That's an interesting question. Probably the young age at which I lost my dad. I was very young when he left, and he was very young when he left, and that really tested my faith and my understanding that everything is perfect and that he lived the best he could in the time that he was here. And that just turned me deeper into prayer. So whenever I've had a challenge, I've just turned deeper into prayer. And possibly I don't get the answer that day or that week or that month. But that's what you need to do. You need to be persistent and consistent. And when you are, then long term, you're going to really come to terms with the beauty of that walking this earth walk in your heart.
Yeah, that's a good point there about prayer. It says in 1 Thessalonians 5:16-17, it says, "Be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, pray continually." And sometimes it's hard to do that.
That's a beautiful quote, Jeff. I love that quote.
Ever since I read that verse years ago after I came to know the Lord, about 17 years ago, man, that has stuck with me. And there's a lot of times that I don't feel like praying because circumstances, I'm like, man, things could be better. But those are the times that you really need to dig in. You just need to get on your knees and say, Lord, I really need your help right now. And then when things go good, you need to be praying and saying, Lord, thank you for getting me through that particular situation. Thank you for how you've blessed me with X, Y, Z. I think that is so key because you know what? It's God who gives us all these things. We don't get these things on our own. So I want to ask you two more questions here, and then we're going to roll out of here. What is God showing you right now?
I need to work harder.
Work harder?
Need to work harder in my faith every day. I can't let down for a minute.
No, that's big.
I need to walk every moment consciously.
No, I tell you what, that's a good lesson for me too. You just need to walk out that faith every single day. Okay, so give me one parting tip of wisdom here for the listeners, and then give me that website again so they can get a hold of you.
Okay, the website is thermographycenter.com. That phone number was 214-352-8758. We're going to offer $125 off for mentioning Men Unplugged and Brother Jeff. And
awesome.
My best tip is, whatever you have, live in gratitude and thankfulness for all that you receive.
That's big. I really like that. It's a perfect way to end. Dr. Michael, thank you so much for being on the show today. Hey, you rocked the mic, no pun intended.
I feel very blessed to have had this opportunity, and I will be excited for all the brothers and sisters who decide to come in and be served in the divine way and to create their health to a new level.
Amen to that. And hey, thanks for helping me out as well. I really do appreciate it. As I close out today's show, I want to encourage you to join the Men Unplugged community. All you do is go to menunplugged.net and click on any button that says sign me up or stay informed. You'll also find links to our Facebook and Twitter page as well. By doing that, you're going to stay up to date on every episode, practical solution, and resource that we offer at Men Unplugged that will help you succeed in every aspect of life. As a bonus for you, I'm going to send you a free PDF copy of my first book, and you'll also have a chance to get a discounted copy of my second book that's set to be released sometime between now and May of 2019. Hey, and while you're there, check out the show notes for this episode, because everything that Dr. Michael and I spoke about will be there. That's 79 in the search bar. Again, that's 79 in the search bar. Until next time, stay plugged in and recharged. God bless.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. There's plenty more to see at menunplugged.net, including key resources and ways to engage with Jeff in his training and speaking forums. While there, don't forget to subscribe and receive a free gift. We look forward to you joining us next time here on the Men Unplugged Show.